What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you the most simple and effective way to analyze a rental property in under 10 minutes. I'm also going to give you access to my free rental calculator that I've spent years developing so that you can run the numbers the right way. Over the last 10 years, I've purchased more than 220 units of residential real estate, and this has given me the opportunity to analyze thousands of bad deals in order to find these good ones. And today I'm going to share with you everything that I've learned so that you can analyze rental properties quickly and effectively and know if they're a good deal. I came to find that there wasn't a great tool to do this, especially on the go. That's why I created the CDS rental calculator. And this app is available on both iOS and Android. You just hop into the App Store, plug in CDS rental calculator. You can download it within a couple of seconds and have free access to be able to analyze rental properties the right way. Now that we've covered that, let's analyze a property. The first step is you need to pick a location. You then need to connect with a property management company and go through everything with them so that you understand that location's expenses and fees. You need to dial in where the money or financing is coming from and make sure that you select a particular property type that you're looking for. Finally, you need to figure out what your desired return is, and then it's time to start shopping. I know these first couple steps can seem overwhelming, but I promise you they're not. However, if you do want help going through them, you can click the link in my description and get $50 off my real estate investing course that shows you how to go through the entire process of all of these steps. If you don't want to take that route, but you still need a little extra help, I've made hundreds of videos on these topics. All that I ask you to do is like, subscribe, and go check out those videos and you'll be able to find the answers. As for this video, we're going to focus on plugging in all the numbers and actually analyzing a property. So let's jump into it. Usually when new real estate investors come to me and ask what should be their first property, I tell them to try and find something between 2 and 4 units. This way they've got multiple tenants so that if they do have 1 or 2 vacancies, they still have money coming in. They also are still 4 units or less, and so they can get a lot better financing for a Freddie or Fannie loan. This also gives them the opportunity to live in one of the units if that's something they want to do to get an even lower down payment. And so I selected a 4-unit apartment complex right here in Idaho Falls, Idaho, where I live on the MLS that we can analyze and see if it's a good deal and then find out what purchase price or terms would make it a good deal. This property is at 2137 Stace Street. It's currently listed at $665,000, and as of today, it's currently for sale. So let's open up the CDS rental calculator. We're going to show you how to run the numbers. First off, you're going to plug in the purchase price, which is $665,000. You're then going to hop over to cost to make rent ready, and we're going to assume that this particular property, based on its description, doesn't need any fixing or additional money going into the deal. And if it ends up needing that money, we're going to ask for it in due diligence anyways, so we're going to say 0 money to make it rent ready. For the down payment, we're going to assume 25%. That's pretty standard for most banks or credit unions to offer that if you're not living in one of the units. We're also going to assume closing costs of 2%, 30-year AM, so 30 years to pay off, and an interest rate of 6.5%. Now, if you're wondering where I got these numbers, a lot of that comes down to sitting down with a loan officer and figuring out that financing piece, knowing what your interest rate and your terms will be, but these should be pretty standard for right now. All right, now we're going to jump down to the monthly income section, and on this, the first one is rents. And a lot of times these will be listed on the actual listing. However, you don't just want to trust those because those could be high or low for what the market demands. So you want to hop onto a website like Rent-A-Meter where you can go and check what they say the local rents are. You want to reach out to your management company and see what they think they can get in these units. And you want to call comparables just to make sure that you know exactly what rents are. Now, I've done the research. I know this area, and I can show you Rent-A-Meter said for this particular property that it would be about $1,329. And again, I know some of those comparables are high, so I'm going to say max rents after speaking with management and looking at this are going to be $1,300 a unit. Now, when you're plugging this in, you don't want to plug in $1,300 on the rents because again, this is a 4-unit property. So you're going to go and do $1,300 times 4. And when you do that, that's going to give you $5,200. And so for rents, you're going to plug in $5,200. The next income section is other income. This could be if you have, a coin washer and dryer, where you've got income coming there. It could be if you're charging for pets on a monthly basis, or any other additional income on top of your rents can be plugged in here. And then you've got vacancy. For me, I would say regardless of where you're at, you should have a minimum of a 5% vacancy, and in a lot of areas higher. But in this area, I'm comfortable with that 5%. You're then going to jump down to maintenance. Now, this is another thing you've got to talk to your management company to make sure you get these numbers dialed in. But my minimum would be 12%. This is for a great location where it's a decent property, and that's just going to help you keep up with all of the repairs as they come, whether that's the roof, the water heater, flooring replacement, just general wear and tear. And in a lot of areas where you're getting maybe a higher cash on cash return, but you're dealing with a lower quality neighborhood / tenant, you're going to want to plan for higher maintenance. So I would make sure to never do less than 12% on maintenance, but also talk to your management company about your particular property and see what they think that's going to be, and make sure you hold them accountable, because if they tell you it's going to be lower and then it ends up looking higher for the area, you want to get that dialed in so you know what to expect. One other thing is I see a lot of people with new construction that want to lower that below the 12%, but those expenses are going to come around, and it's nice to prepare for them and plan for them, because water heaters do go out, roofs do have issues. All of those things have schedules where with a new construction, it's further down the line, but you still want to prepare for it for when it does come. The next expense is management. Now, we've plugged that in at 8%. However, this totally depends on the management company that you're working with. You've got to remember, some management companies charge just a flat fee, but others will charge additionally to that flat fee. So they'll have their flat fee, and they're taking half of your first month rent, and they're taking other fees from the income you've got coming in. And so you want to make sure you dial that in, because if they're at 8% and then have these other fees, it's probably going to be closer to 9 or 10. So you want to do that math and make sure you have an accurate number after speaking with management. I also have a lot of people that run their numbers based on self-management. I would tell you don't go that route, but if you do, still run your numbers on the property as if you're paying a manager, so that you can know that you're not pushing your numbers tight, because management is going to cost you money and time. The next expense is any utility expense. Now, I prefer to have my tenants set up where they're covering all of the utilities, but in certain situations, that's not possible, where maybe the electric bill is linked, or the gas bill is linked, or the water, sewer, trash bill. Whatever it is, make sure that you know exactly what the expenses are going to be, and if they're going to you as the landlord or the tenant. If they're coming to you as a landlord, you need to plug them in this box. The next one is additional expenses, and this is very helpful for larger properties where maybe there are other expenses that aren't in the boxes we've already mentioned that you want to plug in there, whether that's an HOA or something else. Finally, we're going to jump down to insurance. I prefer on all rental properties to already have a connection with my insurance guy in the area, so that I can call him and say, hey, ballpark, what's it going to cost for a 4-unit apartment complex in this location? And he'll say, oh, $1,300 to $1,500. So that's what happened on this particular property. I plugged in the insurance at $1,500, just assuming worst case scenario on that. For the taxes, you can find those on the listing. And if they're not mentioned, you can ask the realtor, or you can hop on to the county website. And that's usually pretty easy to track down if you have the address. Now, once we have all the numbers, this is the fun part. You get to click Run Numbers and see what your returns look like. Now, you can see you've got your purchase price, the total capital required, your net operating income, your debt service, and then the fun part, or the part I really like to pay attention to, is the cash on cash return and the cap rate. Now, for this particular property, right away, it would be a hard pass unless they're willing to move on price or willing to work out some kind of seller financing terms. And so I'm going to show you what those options look like as far as what would make this deal a buy for me. But if these are the numbers, this would be a hard pass. Now, a lot of people say, Chandler, what is the criteria I should hold to? And this completely depends on you, your financial situation, and your goals for investing in real estate. I work with some people that say, you know what, Chandler, as long as I'm positive cash flow, because of the tax benefits I get from buying real estate, it's a buy for me. I have other people that say I want an 8% cash on cash return. For me personally, I have historically held to a 15% cash on cash return. The last couple of years of rates have gone up. I've lowered my criteria because they're still great deals and good cash flowing deals to where I will buy a deal if it has a 10% cash on cash return or higher, even though a lot of times I'm still pushing to find those 12% cash on cash return deals. So as you can see for this property, it's at a 1% cash on cash return with a 5.96% cap rate. This makes it so that your cash flow on this property is only $1,830. So you're investing $176,000 plus to only get $1,830 in cash flow every year. That to me, even with good appreciation, principal pay down, and the tax benefits you get from real estate, does not make sense as a buy. And so for this particular deal at this price, it would be a hard pass. Now, for those of you saying, Chandler, what would make this deal worth buying? Just flip back. And if we were able to change the purchase price and drop it down to, let's plug in $450,000. If there's any world, which I don't think there is, where they would be willing to drop down to $450,000 as a purchase price for this property, if you click run the numbers on that purchase price, you can see now I'm at an 11.79% cash on cash return. That would be a buy for me, especially in this current market, and taking into consideration that that's at a 6.5% on my interest rate, and I have a high level of confidence over the next couple of years that that's going to come down. I think that would be a phenomenal deal. Now, for this particular property, a lot would say, Chandler, for seller financing terms, what would a seller financing deal look like that you would be happy with? And so for me, let's, instead of $450,000 purchase price, let's raise that to a $580,000 purchase price. But let's say that we're able to work out a 3% seller financing with the same 25% down. That would make it so your closing costs are essentially zero. So we're just going to get rid of that. And then your interest rate would drop to 3%. And again, we can click run the numbers. At this, that puts you at a 12.17% cash on cash return. That means your cash flow is $17,652. This is a buy all day for me. And that's why it's so important, even on these bigger deals. What do you have to lose from putting in an offer and say, hey, are you open to seller financing? Because then on this particular deal, they would only have to come down $70,000 from their original asking price. And I know a lot of people are saying, Chandler, how many people are willing to come down that much? Well, we're in a weird market, and I'm still finding deals, especially off market, where people are willing to come to that price because they know I'm a quick close and a great opportunity for them. And when there aren't realtors involved, they have that wiggle room. That's why properties on the MLS are tricky, because those are for people who don't want to put into the work to find good deals and are willing to get a smaller return, because it takes very little effort to find a rental property that can just barely cash flow, give you the tax benefits, and hopefully give you appreciation, and you don't have to put in a lot of work. Again, this is why it's so important for you to fine-tune your criteria at what you want to buy based on your situation. Because if you're in a situation financially where you can only buy a property every couple of years, you're going to want to work until you find those deals that are going to give you those higher returns. I don't think it's worth you throwing in money to a deal that's just going to break even. Last thing I wanted to show you, first of all, we have updated the app so it looks super clean. It's very user-friendly, but you also have an amortization schedule here where you can see what's going towards principal, what's going towards interest, what your payment would be. You can also click Save New. Now what this does is you get to plug in the property name. So we're just gonna say Stace as the property name. And if you submit that, now it's saved your property. And I've got a lot of other properties here. At any time that I want to view this particular property with these numbers, I can just click on it and it's going to pull it right back up and have it saved how it is. It also gives me the option to save different options. So if I wanted to say Stace seller financing, Stace current, Stace with lower purchase price, I can save all of those separately. Every time you change information, you just press Save New, and you can save these properties so that you can look back at the properties you purchased. You can also keep track of the deals that you've analyzed so that you can pull them right up as you're going through the process of purchasing a rental property. Once you get to this point and you've determined it's a buy, there's obviously still due diligence and getting the closing table and getting the loan, but you know this deal is worth going at the price or setup that you found that works. And now you can go after it. If they accept it, great. If not, you move on to the next deal. And you might find that there are some deals that aren't even worth putting in offers. You kind of start to learn, hey, this might be too much, but if it's been listed for a while, or you can see that they're closer to where you need to be, it's always worth throwing out an offer just to see if you can find a deal that's going to meet your criteria. And once you do, you've got to be ready to roll and get it closed. That's how you analyze a rental property. And as long as you hold to your criteria, I promise you, you're gonna find some incredible deals, and you're not gonna end up purchasing them and regretting it because you held to a criteria and you knew how to analyze them properly. If you guys enjoyed the video, remember to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the future videos. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.